Taoiseach, at a time when rents are at record levels, your government has come up with a new solution to hike them up even further. Your proposal to effectively remove rent controls from new tenancies signals disaster for renters, especially young people, students and their families, and anyone who moves to a new rental home. The reality of your plan was always clear, but now it is not just the opposition saying it. Despite all of the spin and bluster from government and you as well over the last number of weeks, the central bank has said that your rent hike bill will be painful for tenants. In fact, I quote, they said that the social costs and the pain felt by households is not even. This will hurt young people and their ability to save to buy their own home. This will hurt students and their families who are paying already extortionate rents. And this will hurt ordinary working people who find themselves stuck in an ever-spiralling rental trap. Your plan, Taoiseach, is a green light for massive rent increases every year. Your government spent a full week attempting to disguise the fact that your plan shafts renters. Your plan is a green light for massive rent increases every year. You just couldn't be straight with people. So in a blizzard of confusion, we had government ministers tripping over themselves to contradict each other. You declared, Taoiseach, in this House last week that, I quote, we will be taking specific measures to support students. Do not worry at all because we have their backs. Then Minister Brown confirmed the reality. There will be no exemptions or special protections for students in the private rental sector or any renters who will be faced with massive rent hikes. You keep saying that this is a balanced plan. Nothing could be further from the truth. You can't promise vulture funds that you can increase prices while pretending to renters that rent will not go up. We know who is going to pay and that it is renters. So let's be honest, Taoiseach. Government housing policy has always been about investors and giving vulture and cuckoo funds free rein to squeeze rents out of hard-working people. And to make matters worse, supply is falling off a cliff. You missed your housing targets last year, you were nowhere near close to meeting them this year, and now the central bank has again revised down their estimates for new home completions this year. At barely above 30,000, far below your target of 40,000. But not only will you miss your targets this year, the central bank believes that you will miss them next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. And all of this is happening in a cost of living crisis. Taoiseach. Rents are going up at the same time as groceries, as insurance, broadband, and at a rate far higher than incomes have increased. And this is putting a burden that people simply cannot take. But despite all of this confusion, there is one absolute certainty, that rents will go up and that you will remove one of the few protections that renters have. Rent controls will not apply to new build homes. They will not apply to existing homes after a renter moves out voluntarily. They will not apply to off-campus student accommodation, despite you saying that you have their backs. The average tenancy is just over 3 years long, meaning that very soon almost all renters will be hurt by your decisions this week. It will hurt tens of thousands of people every year. It will lock families into overcrowded accommodation for fear that if they move, their rents will skyrocket. There is absolutely no guarantee that these changes will increase supply. I believe that rents need to be brought down. You and your government obviously believe that rents should go up. And of course, the rent pressure zone should be extended. It should have been done from day one. But scrap all of the rest of your absolutely crazy proposals that will increase the price of rent. So, Taoiseach, when are you going to stop punishing renters? Do you now accept that as a result of your decision this week that rents will go up? And will you take the opportunity to correct the record of the Dáil and accept that students who live off campus will not be protected under your proposals and in fact will be one of the first to be affected?
Well, thanks very much, Lascian Corla, and thank you to Deputy Cullinane for raising these important issues. Firstly, I want to be very clear for people watching in at home that the decisions the government has taken, and indeed the legislation that the government is passing through this House and through the Seanad this week, is legislation that will extend the rent pressure zones. As everybody renting across Ireland knows, the rent pressure zones were due to end at Christmas. They were due to end this year. And had we not taken action, they would have ended, they would have disappeared. So not only have we taken a decision to extend the rent pressure zones based on the advice of the Housing Agency and others, we've also taken the decision to expand the rent pressure zones to parts of the country that weren't covered, and to do that in a speedy fashion. And there's around 11 counties in Ireland that will benefit from that. So rent pressure zones staying in place, going nationwide, is a good and sensible thing to happen in terms of protecting existing tenants as well. Deputy, you quoted the Central Bank report, but of course you just quote parts of the Central Bank report. Central Bank have also said that our rent pressure zone reforms will have a positive effect on supply. They themselves acknowledge that housing projections are subject to uncertainty, but they've said this morning that it's not impossible to reach the targets, but there's a number of steps that need to be taken. Indeed, many of the steps that they've outlined are areas where you've seen government have a priority focus on in recent weeks. The establishment of Commission Planola, the decision to extend planning permissions that could have expired, the decision to make more developments exempted, because about 50% of a planner's time in some local authorities can be taken up on small things like attic conversions or modular developments in the back garden. The new national planning framework that we've brought through this House to ensure that there's enough land zoned to get to the 300,000 plus homes we need to deliver by the end of 2030. And very shortly, next month, you will see a very significant programme of investment from government in the key enabling infrastructure to deliver homes, most particularly water, wastewater, and energy as well. So we are taking steps, and I know exactly what I said in relation to students last week. I said, quote, "We will be taking specific measures to support students. Do not worry, because we have their back, and we do, and we will." You don't need to lecture me in relation to students. When I was Minister for Further and Higher Education, every year we reduced students' fees and we extended the renters' tax credit to students, while you in Northern Ireland continue to expect students to pay way more in terms of accessing colleges. And don't you worry, and more importantly, don't students worry, in the forthcoming budget we'll take more measures to protect students. So please don't try to create this generational anxiety in relation to what we're going to do to support our students at a time when we have more people than ever before in our history accessing third level education, and we'll continue to support students. But let me also say to the students, or to the renters, or to the people that Sinn Féin tries to mislead, it is your policy to abolish rent pressure zones. In the Sinn Féin housing plan, in the Sinn Féin housing plan, just give David his chance this week, Matt, you might get a go next week. In the Sinn Féin housing plan, you're in favour of reference rents. Reference rents, which the ESRI said would be unworkable and complex, which the Housing Agency said would be unworkable, complex and lead to more disputes. And you do know what a reference rent would have meant. It would have meant actually increasing the rent for existing tenants. So, I don't expect consistency from Sinn Féin in terms of policy development, but a little bit of recognition that you contested a general election on the basis of abolishing rent pressure zones and replacing it with reference rents, something that the Housing Agency, the ESRI, and I reckon a hell of a lot of renters don't think is a good idea either.
Well, I have to say again, your response is all spin and bluster and blame everybody else but your government for the fact that what you are doing here is bringing in policies that will drive up the cost of rent for many people. So I can tell you that students will not by your line of argument. They will see through your spin, because the reality is that many students are going to see their rent and the cost of their accommodation increase. They know it. They know you don't have their back. And you talk about a balance. The balance here is tipped in favour of the vulture funds and the cuckoo funds and the investors. More money for them, more profit for them, which is always the case under Fine Gael, who represent a causative privileged class, from my perspective. But see, when it comes to ordinary people who have to pay increased costs on groceries, on insurance and now on rent, they're the ones who are paying the price. So stand up once and for all. Don't be blaming Sinn Féin for something we didn't do. Take responsibility for your actions. The Central Bank has made it clear today that this will hurt those same people. Take responsibility for it, stop it, scrap it, and don't put institutional investors first, and don't again screw those renters who are already paying high rents with even higher rents.
Well, don't talk to me about the privileged classes when the largest property owners and investors in this House is the Sinn Féin party. Let's remember, your own party is the biggest property owner in the Dáil. Your party's Director of Finance, Des Mackin, boasted to the Irish Times a few years ago that Sinn Féin had easily 40 to 50 properties across the island. He said you tried to tidy it up a few years ago. Oh, they don't like the truth. He went on to say, in Belfast alone you have 7. Nationally, I'd say we've at least 40 to 50 properties. The biggest property owners in Dáil Éireann, the biggest property investors, are Sinn Féin. So don't give me this, we're on the side of the working people. You're just a load of bull that people people see right through. You're the wealthiest party in this House, and there's no two ways about it. And at least have the decency to stand by your policy. You are in favour of reference rents. We're in favour of rent pressure zones. It is a balanced package. We're taking measures. We're taking measures to expand rent pressure zones. We're taking measures to make them permanent, but we're also making sure we can deliver more supply, because you know what renters need? Places to rent.
Can I just